right, good morning, everybody. Monday morning, off to a little bit of a delayed start this morning. Honestly, I just got on a little late. My computer launched a little bit late, but it does happen on a Monday morning. So today is Monday, May 15th, and I hope everybody had a good Mother's Day weekend. I know some folks have a difficult Mother's Day if your mother has passed or there's a strange relationship, but there's always a person, a mother type figure, an individual in your life that has helped people through. And so I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend, Mother's Day weekend, if you celebrated it with your mother-like figure, and somebody fun and enjoyable. So this Monday starts the last week in Springfield. So I have one of my favorite mugs here. It's called I Love Meetings. My I Love Meetings mug, because I'm going to be in a lot of meetings this last week of Springfield. We're going to be on the House floor probably quite a bit. We have a lot of bills. I told you last week was deadline week. But we didn't get through all the bills. I have a couple bills still on the agenda. So what we did was we got extensions to pass them out of the House this week. It's very stressful that they didn't pass last week because they have what I put some amendments on it. We had to do some changes in the House. And so what that happens is if you have to amend a bill, if you have to amend a bill in the House or in the Senate, it has to go back to the originating chamber. So in this case, I have House bills that got amended. So if you amend the House bills, they have to, or the Senate bills, they have to go back to the Senate for what's called concurrence, which pretty much say that they agree. And that takes some time as well, because the concurrence has to go through committee, has to be reviewed, and then it gets sent to the governor. So it's very stressful. We are in today at 4 is what my calendar says. I read somewhere 5, but I plan to be down there about 3. And so we are in today. Hopefully we will move some bills, and I'm hoping, like, I have like 3 or 4 on the calendar, and I hope that some of those that we move today are mine. So it's kind of a little bit of a stressful week this week, especially trying to get the bills to the Senate and then out of the Senate on concurrence to the governor's desk. So with that, I'm just going to launch and get my laptop up and running so that I can see who's on, who's watching. 7 people are up and moving this morning. That's fabulous. So Audie, thanks for bringing in. Bob Dunn, thanks for being on and watching. We are definitely starting out this last Monday of Springfield session, hopefully. Now, in the past, we've gone a little bit late. In the Rauner years, we went a lot late. In the Rauner years, we got pretty much nothing done and just was on this hamster wheel of meetings after meetings, sessions after sessions that weren't productive. And in the end, we were able to override the governor's veto of the budget and get the state at least right-sided. It was still in kind of a bad shape. Now, as I've said before, we're doing pretty good financially. We're working really hard as the chair of pensions, working hard to fix our pensions, get us a path on the right direction. But technically, this is the last week in session. We are set to adjourn Friday, May 19th. That is the scheduled adjournment day. So what is going on this week? So talked about this before. The number one thing that's going on is the budget. What we have is we have 5 appropriations committees, and they do a lot of the work. I was on General Services Appropriations for 10 years. This is the first year I'm not on a appropriation committee. I am on revenue, which is also an important committee with regards to the budget. So what is going on this week? We are finalizing the negotiations. So from all the 6 committees, the budgeteers is the chair of each of those committees, and they are working with Leader Pro Tem Gordon Booth, and they are putting together the FY24 budget. They've taken all the work of the committees, putting it together, and working with the Senate, working with the governor's office so that we have agreement on the budget. So we are continually to work, continually to get updates and caucus with regards to this process. So it is quite the grueling process of meeting and meeting again, and just making sure that everybody's on the same page. So wrapping up the FY24 budget this week. So we don't have any real details. Again, we've been in caucus, we've been meeting, the Republicans caucus, they meet, and while working together on how the anticipated revenue for FY24. Now, keep in mind, I've said this before, the budget is a blueprint, just like household budgets. You sit there and you say, oh, we're going to budget, some dollars for a car repair over the year. We're going to budget some expenditures. If kids are going to go back to school in the spring, in the September, then you got to budget some of that. So it's just like a regular household budget. You anticipate how much is going to come in for the year, and then you set parameters around that amount of money. It's similar to that. So the governor introduced his budget back earlier this year. So we start that with a framework, and then we go through the committee structure, and we go through the governor's introduced budget, and we see how it aligns with the committees, see how some of the committees might not agree with some of the line items. The line items might be too high, too low, and then they adjust. So that is how it is going right now. So there are a lot of issues that we were talking about that goes in the final budget. As I've said in the past, one of the things we both are looking for is COGFA, the Office of the Government Financial Accounting, and then GOMBI, the Governor's Office of Management and Budget. They amended their anticipated revenues. As was mentioned, COGFA announced new numbers, and this week the Governor's Office of Management and Budget, GOMBI, reduced projected revenue estimate for FY23, which we're in right now, by $616 million. However, they're still anticipating that there's going to be a little bit of flexibility in the budget. Again, these are budget numbers. So the fact that GOMBI reduced projected revenues for FY23 were at by 616 million. The line items that we set in the budget, as I've said before in the past, as I've given many budget updates, they are ceilings. It's as high as the governor can spend. Now, the department heads and the governor's office can spend lower, can reduce spending on the line items and not voucher as much. And so I'm assuming that that's what GOMBI is looking at right now, is unspent line items that might not need to be spent all the way up to the top of the approved appropriation. So they also increased and looked at revenues for FY24. So we are looking at a little bit of and that's what all budgets are estimates. So what GOMBI looked at is they are looking at 532 million, or roughly 1%, is looking to increase a revenue estimate for the upcoming year. So this is some adjustments. The governor came in with his proposed budget very conservatively. He had looked at well below what at the beginning COGFA was estimating. So what we are looking at is a little bit of what GOMBI, and this is what we are looking at. We are justifying all these numbers, and we are looking at this corresponding 532 million, which GOMBI is saying is adjusting for next year's FY24 budget is going to be a little bit higher. So this is what we are looking at in our committees, whether this is what we are expecting, what we think, or if we're going to budget a little bit lower than what they are projecting from the governor's office. So this is about 1% of the entire budget that they are thinking is going to increase the revenues. So again, we have some budget processes. We have some things we have to look at. It's never easy balancing the budget, as you know, and your household budgets. It is a little bit difficult as well. So there are other things that we are looking at. Federal funding is no longer available, and so we are looking at that along with other programs such as our Medicaid bills and some of the other programs that legislators would like to see in the budget, but we need to figure out how to pay for it. So that's what we're looking at right now. Fitch's ratings, though, the rating agencies overall, the budget outlook remains good, and with earlier forecasts. So so we are looking at the budget becoming available for the public Wednesday or Thursday. And then next week, I'll give you an update on how things are going, how the budget turned out, and where our line items are being spent. I do this every year to give you guys an idea of what the state is spending their funds on. So to date, a total of 320 bills passed both chambers and will go to the governor to be signed into law. These include 187 House bills and 133 Senate bills. 2 were already signed into law. They were very time sensitive. House Bill 559 codifies workforce and pharmacy related COVID executive orders, and House Bill 3162 provides benefits for first responders with COVID. In the House, we had an individual who won an election to be alderman in the city of Chicago. So last week we bid farewell to our colleague, State Representative Lamont Robinson, as he begins and is sworn in today as Chicago alderman. He's being sworn in today with new Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson. So we wish him, Mayor Johnson, and all the city council members the best of luck on their inauguration day today. Former Representative Robinson left a vacancy, and over the weekend, because we have 1 week left to go, over the weekend, appointed in his spot is Kim Buxlett, and she was appointed to fill the vacancy of the office created by State Representative Robinson leaving. Now, State Representative Buxlett was a state representative from 2011 to 2013, and she has served on the Water Reclamation Board, the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District Board, since 2018. So we welcome her back to the General Assembly, and we are excited to be working with her as she transitions in. She is the second new representative this session. We have Representative Gill. She replaced Representative Fran Hurley earlier this year, who was appointed to the Labor Relations Boards. So we have 2 new people coming in mid-stride this General Assembly, the 103rd Assembly. So we had talked about this a bit before. Mary Flowers, Deputy Majority Leader Mary Flowers, is the longest serving member of the General Assembly. She has been removed from attending Democratic caucuses and leadership meetings following numerous allegations related to inappropriate conduct. Her position, this removal from leadership, will be effective June 1st. So what we are working very hard on the General Assembly is decor and mutual respect and a lot of changing. We have a new leadership and changing the way things are done, and negativity, offensive comments, and the like is certainly not tolerated. And as Speaker Welch put in the letter to Deputy Majority Leader Mary Flowers, that leadership specifically has to be held to a higher standard. And so this was a decision solely by Speaker Welch with a member of his leadership team. So other than that, one of the laws that came to play was a ethics law that we passed in the House. It heads to the Senate, and again, it's a new leadership, and we are working very hard to ensure that ethics and standards are maintained. So what we are looking at with regards to ethics is the bill, and I'm getting the bill right now. My apologies for being a bit delayed. Is Representative Curtis Tarver. We passed the bill that would bar officials convicted of corruption from holding office. Now, this is a very unique situation. So we passed this House on Friday, House Bill 351. It would bar anyone convicted of a felony, bribery, perjury, or misuse of public funds while serving as a public official from ever being elected to state or local office again. And Capital News Illinois published a story that talks about this bill, and it went overwhelmingly 106-0. Now, current law, so this was very interesting. Current law bars anyone convicted of a felony from holding a state office until they have completed their sentence. And a provision in the Illinois Municipal Code bars anyone who has ever been convicted of a felony from holding an elected municipal office. But individuals are free to run for General Assembly, governor, or any other constitutional office once they've completed their sentence. Now, Representative Curtis Tarver was very, very passionate about that. And he noted that Illinois was the only state in the nation that bars an individual from running for office based on the office sought and not the crimes committed. Now, if you recall, back in the day, former Democrat Governor Rod Blagojevich was barred from running for state and local office in Illinois after his impeachment in 2009. However, that ban was specific to him with regard to the process of the impeachment. So House Bill 351 would allow some small exceptions for those whose convictions have been reversed, restored by terms of a pardon, or the governor restored their rights, or otherwise restored by law. Very, very small circumstances. So what this does is it looks at them being convicted of these crimes, and it also sets up a task force to review the current laws and policies pretty much about disqualification standards, and makes recommendation as to what other criminal contact should preclude an individual from holding public office. So that again goes on to the Senate, and the Senate needs to vote for it, and then it can go to the governor's office. This is not a bill that needs concurrence because it started in the House. If it passes the Senate, it will go on to the governor's office. So this week, it was very interesting, and I think I talked about this last time, is the Supreme Court heard arguments both in Springfield and at Chicago State University. So the Supreme Court is going around and raising awareness about what the role the Supreme Court does in our judicial system. I think that's very interesting. Tuesday, May 16th, they will be in Springfield to hear arguments on 2 cases, including State Representative Dan Caucus' challenge to the assault weapons ban. You can see the dockets and the briefs online if you're interested. The Supreme Court has announced it anticipates releasing opinions on May 18th, June 2nd, and June 5th for those that are interested in the workings of the Supreme Court. Now, we do have the Second Appellate Court. Judge Margaret Mullen was assigned to the Second Appellate District to fill the vacancy created by the passing of Justice Donald Hudson on April 11, 2023. The assignment of Judge Mullen gives the Second Appellate Court District its first female majority, 4-3. In addition to, and similarly related to the judicial system, the Illinois Supreme Court Commission on Access to Justice launched an application process for access to justice improvement grants. So it asks courts to think about what their locality needs to help advance access to justice and encourages them to submit a proposal for funds to help achieve that goal. As you know, that the court system are local, and then the circuit courts and the appellate courts, and then all the way up to the Supreme Court. So this is looking at the local court system in the counties, most of the time in the counties. So grants have been used in the past to develop a wide range of innovative projects, from repurposing courthouse space for self-help centers, improved signage materials, early resolution programs that resolve divorce cases more quickly, partnering with legal aid agencies for courthouse-based help desks, and other other services. So the application process is open now through June 26th. We are also looking at continuing on the judicial track. The Illinois Appellate Court upheld a ruling denying motions by the Chicago Sun-Times to dismiss a lawsuit by Mauro Glorioso, a former executive director for the Illinois Property Tax Appeal Board, accusing the newspaper of misrepresenting his role in the 2011 property tax assessment of the Trump International Hotel and Tower. So again, the judge denied motions to dismiss. So the Sun-Times filed 3 motions in an effort to dismiss the suit, and the Cook County Circuit Court dismissed Glorioso's claim of intentional infliction of emotional distress, and it also denied the Sun-Times remaining motions. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes about. As I said last week, Illinois officially ended its public health emergency on May 11th. Governor Pritzker signaled the day by thanking health professionals that served in the front line during the pandemic. So, as I've said before, the emergency declarations help in various ways, and that also helps us to access federal funds. So, these are all expired. They've expired on the federal level, and they've expired on the state level. So, we are officially out of the public health emergency of COVID-19. However, COVID-19 is still out there. People still get sick from COVID-19. What happens now on the federal level and on the state level with these emergencies officially ending is you could no longer most likely go to, like I used to go to Walgreens and get COVID tests. Most likely those now will be charged to your insurance, or you might have to pay out of pocket for that. And then, of course, the free COVID tests that came in the mail are no longer going to be available. And so it's going to change those aspects a bit, but not drastically. So just make sure that you know if you do have COVID and you go get a COVID test, check with your healthcare provider and realize that you might be obligated to pay for these vaccines and COVID tests. There are still places available where if you feel like you have signs of COVID or you need a test, you can go to the VNA, and there are other community health based organizations that can help you out as well. So we will be looking at that. So carrying on with that same thread of health insurance, but a little bit of a different subject. What we got was a notice that the Illinois Department of Healthcare and Family Services and the Illinois Department of Human Services issued an advisory about a breach of the state of Illinois application for benefits eligibility, the ABE systems, Manage My Case portal. So this system is the eligibility system for state-funded medical benefit programs such as Medicaid, Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, also known as SNAP, Temporary Assistance for Needy Family, also known as TANF. The portal within the ABE system enables departments, individuals to see their case history, benefits details, as well as change account benefit information. So on March 13, 2023, the departments discovered suspicious user accounts had been created within the system. These suspicious accounts were able to link to existing customer accounts by providing the individual's date of birth and individual ID or social security number, and then correctly answering several identity proofing questions. So in response to the incident, the department deployed a new software update to stop the creation of more suspicious user accounts and delinked those suspicious accounts from the customer accounts. So just to let you know that was an advisory. They found the problem and they quickly resolved the problem, but we are advising you to make sure that your account is intact. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. It is also a Motorcycle Awareness Month as well, but Mental Health Awareness Month, the Department of Insurance is launching a new ad campaign highlighting mental health parity. And we've talked about this before. Mental health parity is when mental health is viewed in the same light as physical health. Makes sense, right? Makes sense to me. So there's a campaign that talks about mental health parity. It's going to be on radio, it's going to be on digital, it's going to be on social media ads to raise the awareness of mental health parity. We passed a law for mental health parity, and I've talked about this last week with regards to insurance companies that are in the state of Illinois should be covering mental health services. So their health insurance, mental health, substance use disorder coverage has been not on par with physical health. And so we are working with that. And I mentioned this last week, and I mention it again. The U.S. Surgeon General released the guide for combating loneliness and isolation. I know we talked about that as well. So in addition to that, Illinois joins more than 20 states that allow pharmacists to disperse female hormonal contraceptive without first visiting a doctor. The Illinois Department of Public Health has issued a standing order to allow pharmacists to dispense all the products that women might need for reproductive health care and family planning. So you can check with your pharmacist right now, as Illinois joins more than 20 states to allow pharmacists to be able to dispense that. One last aspect, not with regards to healthcare, but now transitioning to some of the other things that come across our desks that we get briefed on that the state is doing for you. Illinois and other state regulators joined to ask U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland to do more to curb offshore gambling. So what this means is we have illegal offshore operators, and the last major crackdown by the DOJ, the Department of Justice, on illegal offshore operators occurred about 12 years ago, when the websites and assets of 3 major online poker sites were seized. The gaming industry has consistently warned of the dangers associated with offshore gambling sites, and we are hoping the federal government will take action with regards to that. And then continuing along the line of gambling and gaming, new renderings of Chicago's proposed casino were released this week. So if you haven't seen them, you can go online and check them out. Some mixed reviews on the renderings, but of course, this is the first shot. Hopefully through public opinion, they will take input from the public in Chicago on how this casino should look. Casino revenues remain steady. The state's share reaching 22 million in March and 20 million in April. Video gaming brought in 77 million in March and 70 million in April. March was a record-breaking month for sports betting, with a handle of $1.07 billion. And then cannabis sales has flattened. So these all go into the budget talks, and we all look at these numbers as it pertains to the budget. Cannabis sales has flattened last month for the first time since the state legalized recreational cannabis in 2020, declining prices and out-of-state competition. So our April sales were 132 million last year in April. And then this year they were down slightly, 131.8 million in April. So it's relatively flat, declined slightly, but relatively flat. So that has occurred across the industry if you look at the history of it. But definitely looking at states such as Michigan, which is right across the border with less strict regulations, allows more companies into the legal market. So, and also Missouri. So Michigan and Missouri, they're cutting a little bit into our cannabis market. Now on to positive news for our veterans. The Chicago Veterans Home received its official certification from the United States Department of Veterans Affairs. So our Chicago Veterans Home has been open for a while on a very, very limited basis. So we have just received the official certification to participate in the State Veterans Home Program. The United States Department of Veterans Affairs must formally recognize and certify a facility as a state veterans home. They then survey all facilities each year to make sure they continue to meet federal standards. And they also reimburse the state for costs associated with operating the veterans' homes. So it is a partnership between the home and the federal government, which qualifies the home, as I said, for financial support. This financial support is a form of a per diem grant payment for nursing home care provided to eligible veterans. So our Chicago Veterans Home is officially open and serving the veterans in the Chicago area. Other than that, the Lieutenant Governor is working in collaboration with the Illinois Council on Women and Girls to launch a Girls Lead pilot program aimed at inspiring 5th to 12th grade girls to explore careers and educational pathways while imparting social and leadership skills. Now, I think this is really important. I realize that it is targeted towards 5th to 12th grade girls. However, I know what's really important is that it starts right before the middle school years. And I know that 6th, 7th, and 8th grade can be pretty difficult, along with high school. So this is a pilot program, which I think is really exciting, and definitely would like to see the results of it. I think it's pretty cool. Other than that, secure choice. I was just talking about this the other day. So we passed a law in Illinois that requires companies in the state to offer either a private retirement savings program, which could be as easy as a SEP IRA or something small, or a public alternative called Illinois Secure Choice Program. So small businesses are really, they're very stressed and understand the challenges, but trying to get small businesses in compliance, it's been a bit of an effort. So by November 1st, all employers with 5 workers or more must be offered secure choice. This is an automatic, really an automatic sign-in of an IRA formula that is pioneered in Illinois, California, and Oregon. And it actually grew out of a proposal by President George Bush in the mid-2000s to make Social Security a bit of an optional and to give Americans a choice of managing their own retirement plans. Now, obviously, Social Security is still here, but it is so important to supplement and save for retirement, especially younger individuals. And case in point, my son has put money away in his retirements in the Navy, and my daughter has participated in her company's 401k plan. So it's so important for young people to put funds away. And here is an example. So when I was a registered financial advisor, I had a client who had worked at Jewel Osco back in 20, 25, 30 years ago. And she realized that she had contributed to the plan's 401k and never took it out, never rolled it over, and just forgot about it. Well, 30 years later, she had about $250,000 in that 401k from compounding interest. And that's just from working at a place for a couple of years. So when you're young, it's so very, very important to contribute even a little bit to a retirement account that's going to grow over the years. So when you get older, it can grow into a substantial amount. And if you know of young individuals or any individuals that are working for a small business, they can participate in this secure choice, which would help people out tremendously. So definitely it is a benefit to put funds away, deferred comp, IRA, open up an IRA. Sometimes some individuals, you can open up an IRA, a Roth IRA, a traditional IRA, whatever works for you, for a small amount, and you can do automatic withdrawals every month so that it goes into your savings plan. So AARP has shown that individuals are 15 times more likely to save for retirement if they can do it through easy deductions, such as payroll reductions, or you can do automatic transfers. So that is something to keep looking at, understand even a little bit can go a long way. Peoria is set to get a behavioral health hospital So the Illinois Health Facilities and Services Review Board signed off on a plan to build a $34.4 million behavioral health hospital in Peoria. This is so exciting. It's going to include 100 beds and feature adult specialized inpatient and outpatient behavioral health services. So it's really exciting. It's anticipated to be completed by the end of 2025. The board also approved a $388.8 million plan by Northwestern Medicine to add 84 medical surgical beds and 12 intensive care beds to its Lake Forest Hospital. So this is definitely meeting the need. So we are looking at a lot of other items, but we are heading into this last week, trying to finish up a lot of bills, trying to work very hard to end by May 19th. It's a little earlier than usual. We normally have a ceremony remembering those that have passed in lieu of Memorial Day, which we will not be in session Memorial Day. That ceremony is going to be tomorrow. So you can tune into ilga.gov with regards to that. Just looking at a little bit more, Roger is on. Roger, good to see you. Roger is somebody that does so much for the community. I was outside for, again, on Saturday, Motorcycle Awareness Day. And that is also something to keep in mind as well. Now, I understand in comments on Facebook about motorcycles, and there are individuals who ride motorcycles erratically and unsafe. There are people that drive cars erratically and unsafe. I have been on I-88 traveling the speed limit and being passed as if I was standing still by both vehicles, cars, and motorcycles. What we have to do is continue to be very diligent and watch out for motorcycles. Not only watch out for motorcycles, to be diligent to identify those that may not be properly safe, driving extremely fast, weaving in and out of traffic. So you have to be diligent for those irresponsible drivers, both in cars. I've been cut off by many cars in my travels down to Springfield and back up. I have seen my share of irresponsible car drivers as well. And there's also been motorcycle riders who have not been obeying the laws properly either. So we need to be diligent when we're driving, but we also need to be a little extra cautious to make sure that we watch out for motorcycles. Not only, like I said, motorcycles on the highway, but motorcycles on the side roads and some of the other roads in our communities. So it is, Saturday was Motorcycle Awareness Day, hopefully trying to raise awareness to look out for motorcycles. We can all share the road. And on that note, look out for cyclists overall. When I was in the military, I had a good friend of mine have a car completely not see her, and made a left-hand turn right into her, and she flew over the hood of her bicycle. So just be aware. There's a lot of campaigns out there about texting and driving, and put down the phone. Hands-free devices are very, very in every car. There's no excuse. So put down the phone. If you use your phone, use it in a hands-free motion. Make sure you are aware of your surroundings, of other vehicles. When I was in Springfield a week and a half ago, I was making a turn at a red light when a young driver went right through the red light and hit another car and smashed the car into a building, and they were not hands-free, and just unnecessary. It's unnecessary. So please be safe out there. I am going to sign off because, as you can see, I'm in my home office. I had said last week that we were 2 weeks straight. I had misread the calendar. We were home on Saturday and Sunday. So, I spent Mother's Day with my family, had a nice meal, and then my daughter and I went to see the Mario movie, which is a very, very cute movie. And I did get a message from my son in Japan, which was very, very sweet of him as well. So, but today, heading out to Springfield. So I hope to wrap up, and we will give you a debriefing on Monday, next Monday. But this Monday, definitely heading to Springfield. Last Monday, we had the Firefighters Memorial. And for last year, there will be no names added to the Firefighters Memorial. But this year, we did have some casualties in the firefighter first responder family, and unfortunately, those names will be added next year. So we honor our first responders, and we have to honor them every day. And Comptroller Susana Mendoza, one of the bills that the governor signed was to recognize that we have first responders that are suffering long-term effects from COVID, and we need to align their disability benefits with that and to acknowledge that. And so that is what one of the bills were signed, and we appreciate Comptroller Mendoza for her advocacy for first responders. And we always keep her brother in our thoughts as he battles the long-term effects from his exposure to COVID. So with that, COVID is still around. As I said, feel free to wear a mask, hand sanitize, keep your distance. It doesn't hurt. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you. Thank you for spending your morning with me. I certainly appreciate it. And I hope everybody has a fabulous Monday, a fabulous week, as we are in the middle of May. And the weather has been a little bit up and down, but I'll take it over snow any day. Be sure to make sure, I think we're beyond the frost warning, but make sure if you're planting your flowers, you do it properly so they don't freeze. I know I did that a couple of years ago, planted flowers, and then we had a frost. So, but with that, have a fabulous day. Have a fabulous week again. I hope everybody had a good weekend, and we will talk soon. Take care, everybody.